Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Laura Rogers, and this is Joelle Farley, and this is SharePoint Power Hour. This is a live show that I do Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've had a couple of weeks that we haven't had power hours because of travel and other things, but here we are. And we have a few awesome announcements to make, just some housekeeping notes and things like that at the beginning. First of all, to chat with us, that the whole fun of having SharePoint Power Hour be live is that we can have this live interactive discussion going on the whole time. So I use Slack for that. And in the description of this YouTube video, you have a little link that lets you fill out the form for the first time to be able to go join. But then once I invite you to Slack, that's iwmentor.slack.com, and I have a little Power Hour channel in there. So everybody jump in there, and I'd love for you all to just say hello, good morning, just to kind of let me know that you're there. And we also have, if you guys remember Joelle, she's back. So when we worked at another company together previously, when we had Power Hour, you saw her doing a lot of demos and Power Hours. Well, she is working with me here at IW Mentor, and she's back on the team. So we're very excited. And I think Joelle's actually going to be doing next week's the whole demo for metadata stuff. So welcome, Joelle. Everybody give Joelle a warm welcome, and I'm glad to have you all here.
Glad to be back.
Awesome. And we figured out how to do the whole two-person thing using this little broadcast software. So this is fun stuff. So I'm excited that I got it working. It's pretty complicated. All right. So again, I'm Laura Rogers, SharePoint MVP, and yesterday, hopefully you all know, because I tweeted out a whole bunch. I sent out a newsletter, and I wrote a blog post or two about it. But yesterday was Microsoft's big SharePoint Virtual Summit. And in the Virtual Summit, they made a whole bunch of announcements about just all kinds of new updates. So instead of having to necessarily wait for Ignite for everything to kind of be announced all at once, I like the fact that they do this in May, just like last May when there were a bunch of big announcements. And it's so cool because you can immediately see in the product a lot of the things that they announced yesterday, which, I mean, back in the day of, having to install a new version of software and wait till you upgrade it and all that, you don't have to wait. So when we're in SharePoint Online, we just immediately get to see all the cool new stuff. Now, there were some things in there that they announced that are coming out in the fall that aren't exactly there yet, but we wanted to chat with you guys about some of our favorite things, some of your favorite things, and actually do demos of some of the things that they announced that are in the product already. So I did write a blog post yesterday on wonderlaura.com, and I listed a bunch of the sort of new functionalities that they talked about. And we're going to kind of split it up, and each of us are going to kind of talk about and demo a few of the different things. But I wanted to get you guys is just kind of informal what you thought just in the chat window. So we've already got a couple people chiming in. We're seeing communication sites, web parts, power apps. So you guys feel free to just kind of keep just throwing out when you watched it what you thought were the coolest things, and check out that blog post that I wrote that just lists them all out and gives links to them. But I'm going to try and go through some of these in order. So the first thing that they talked about was OneDrive and some basic sharing. So think about with the sharing stuff, it's not the most glamorous thing. It's not shiny and cool and necessarily the most technical thing, but just think about just typical end users and just wanting to work on files and share files and just making that easy for them and much less painful. So they made a lot of improvements to OneDrive for Business, and basically syncing using the OneDrive for Business sync client on your computer. Of course, your own OneDrive for Business is your own personal files. You can sync that to your hard drive, but you also have all of your SharePoint libraries that those all have a sync button too, and those all go into your OneDrive for Business. So they added in Windows Explorer on your computer without even having to go to SharePoint. When you go to those sync folders, you'll be able to right click on files and have a more interactive experience for sharing and setting certain files or folders to be available offline instead of having to have the whole library or your whole OneDrive or nothing. So Joelle, I'm going to let you, so you were going to talk about some of that and maybe demo a little bit of it if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't think the files on demand stuff is available.
Right. The files
right?
on demand is not available, but just like the sharing stuff
is
actually, they actually have updated that. It's really cool. I'm really looking forward to the OneDrive for Business update to actually come out though.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, just give me a second and I will get sharing here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see the screen. So head over to OneDrive. And so one of the big things that you'll notice is just that the actual sharing button itself is a little bit different. So I'm just going to I'll click on this one down here. And if I click on share here, the experience is just a little bit different than it was before. And I think this is just kind of in preparation for some of those new features that are coming out. So we can see here, a lot of the functionality is the same. Like here it says only people in IW Mentor with the link can view and edit. So we would see that before, but usually it would just be in the pop-up, and it would be a little bit confusing at times. And so here you can just enter in the email addresses, type in the message if you want to do that, and then you can go ahead and hit send. And then we can also have the option of copying a link or opening it up in Outlook and being able to send it that way. And then we can even choose here, so people within the current company, organization. We can also do anyone and then specific people. And then we can choose like the settings like allow editing, or if they are just view only. We can go ahead and do that and then go ahead and click apply.
So this really simplified that so much, didn't they? Because it was kind of confusing. They had some verbiage in there that was kind of like, I didn't even understand what they were asking me in some of those questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think that's what you're kind of seeing with a lot of these screens that are getting updated, is just that they're getting closer and closer to more of a modern web, modern look and feel. And you definitely see that here with that share button. And also, I think you mentioned it. I think we had this ability in OneDrive, regular OneDrive, but now in libraries, which is really cool, we can actually share folders, which I think may have been a limitation before. But if you're in a library, you can actually share a folder and not just a document or the entire library. So that's a
huge,
nice,
simple things, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So hopefully, when this comes out to the desktop client, we'll be able to demo that too. Was there anything else that you and I found in there having to do with the sharing stuff? I think that was it, right?
Yeah, for right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's mostly the files on demand is what they're calling it. I think that's kind of the big thing that we saw yesterday with being able to, I mean, that whole thing of not having to sync the entire library is huge, because that can be quite time consuming. I know you and I have been working on editing some videos recently, and those files are huge, and there's a lot of those. And I'm having, we're sharing those, and for me to sync those, I have to sync the entire thing, and it takes quite a while for all those things to sync because they're big files. So definitely being able to do that on demand and pick which ones you want to sync is really cool.
All right. Okay, so sorry, I'm still getting used to Camtasia. I mean, my XSplit broadcaster, and I forgot to flip over to Joelle full screen. I forgot, like right when you started your demo, I forgot to click on the scene to flip it over. Anyway, so so one of the next things that we were going to talk about is some of the things they mentioned that we're going to be able to take existing SharePoint sites and connect them to Office 365 groups. And I take that to mean existing team sites that were never a group. And there isn't anything in the interface yet that lets you do that, but they're also kind of improving the whole interface around groups and the way the navigation is when you're in a group, to make it more smooth, to kind of understand how to get from the group to the page and things like that. Because right now, as it is, it's a little confusing, because when you start from your mailbox and you go to a group, then it's kind of awkward to be able to figure out what to click on to get to the SharePoint site. You have to click more, and then you have to click site, but it just drops you into this, like the conversations and the members of the group. And so they announced that they're actually going to be improving all that navigation stuff around being in a group and being able to get over to the home page from that. So that's huge, because again, with just typical end users using this stuff, make it so they understand it, and so they don't have to be confused and not know how to get to the SharePoint site, or vice versa, or know how to get to the group resources. So now you'll be able to take those group resources things like the calendar, like those tabs that you have in groups, and be able to put those in the navigation in your SharePoint site. So it's all going to come together. Yay. So that's not in there yet. But then the next thing that we were going to talk about, that you were going to demo a little bit, is some of the new search stuff, which is in there. So I will flip it back over to you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and reshare.
Yeah, Stacy said, I'm getting so confused with all the sites when I go to SharePoint team site versus Microsoft team sites, and how to get the team sites into the Yep, you're so right.
Yeah, it is definitely getting a little hard to. And honestly, what I've always worried with this stuff is that it would be really hard for like governance and things like that. And I know we've talked about that on a few occasions, but it seems like they're understanding that, and so hopefully we'll start to see some better cohesion with those things.
Yep.
All right. So what I'll do, I'm going to talk about the SharePoint Home in just a minute, but we'll start off in an actual site. So here, just wanted to talk about the search experience a little bit, because it definitely has changed a bit in the modern views, and it is interesting. Some of it, there's some really neat features there as well. So we'll start with contextual first. So I'm just going to go into one of these lists here. And so you guys probably remember with 2013 is when it started, but we had the box right on the lister library where we could do a contextual search, and it would automatically kind of filter down our lister library view and only show us the things that we're searching for. So we still have that. It's just up here in the top left-hand corner. And one of the neat things that we're seeing now is that there's actually type ahead, which is really, really cool. So as you start to type in your query, it'll actually give you some results that match that, which is really, really neat. It's definitely something that we see in modern searches. It's something that people are customizing their search centers to do. So seeing this now built in is pretty cool. So what we can do, since we're in a contextual search, if I didn't see what I needed here in the type ahead, I can go ahead and click see more results. And then I'm in this list view, and I can go ahead and see those things that matched my results in this list. And then I can expand the search, which would take me over to the search center, and I don't have access to that. But we'll talk about site searches in just a second.
That's in my demo tenant. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just in a demo right now. But yeah, typically that would take you over to the search center. So that's really neat. Just kind of, I really like the type ahead, because once I saw that, I was like, okay, they're getting it, because that's a really important thing and something that we like to see with search. So let's actually take it back up to the top level now. And so I'm going to go back up to the top level. So I'm just at the root of the site. I'm not on any specific list or library. So I'm going to go ahead and as you can see, when I actually click, before I even start typing, it shows me things that it thinks are relevant to me. So that's pretty neat. And I can click on one of those if I needed that. I can also go ahead and just type in here. And if there was anything matching, it would show me, or I can click show more results, or just hit search. And there's nothing matching that on this site. And what you'll notice, which is kind of interesting, is that our refiners have kind of moved from along the left-hand side of the page up, and now they're running across the top of the page. So here I can expand from just this LoRa project site to all sites, and now I have these results here. I can also then expand further. So let's say I just want to see files. So I can go ahead and click on that. And then now here's all file types, so I can see here it's just web pages, and then it kind of would just continue to expand across. And what you probably noticed is just that with these refiners is it was only showing me the refiners that apply to the results that I'm seeing here. So really cool. I actually like that the refiners have been moved up to the top. This is interesting though, because one of the things I do a lot is customizing refiners, and obviously right now I can't edit this page. So it'll be interesting to see if they apply this to a search center, and if they actually let the refiners kind of, the display of the refiners match.
Yeah, I think that they're assuming which refiner people are going to want first, though. Like, because I like this the way in the search center you see all the refiners down the left,
Yeah.
and you, the end user, can decide what you want to narrow it down by. This one's just doing them one at a time for you and like making you do it in a certain order. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting too because of the fact that pretty much every intranet project I've worked on has custom refiners. I mean, that's like one of the big things that they ask for when they're trying to get their search to be a little bit, more applicable to the organization. So it'll definitely be interesting if they let us have this really cool look and feel, but with those extra pieces of being able to customize.
Oh yeah, look at the URL. So it's got this /search/files thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, otherwise, what I did notice, these are web pages, so let's see if I can actually get it to show me a document here. Because I think I noticed this earlier, is that the hover isn't here.
Oh, huh.
So if I click, it just takes me to the document. But yeah, I noticed also that the hover isn't here. Which is
they have the hover on the people, which I think was the next thing you were going to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to switch over to that in just a second.
Maybe I forgot that one.
But yeah, that's probably something that we'll be looking at. All right, so let me switch over to the SharePoint Home. So this is, just in case you're curious what the SharePoint Home is, it's basically when you click on your app launcher and you click SharePoint, where it takes you to first, that's the SharePoint Home. And this is where we can see the news, which is a new feature that we've seen over the past year. And then also just like our frequent sites, the things that we're using, our suggested sites and that kind of thing. So this also has search built in. And one of the things that they mentioned during the summit yesterday were these people cards. So basically the ability to easily search for, a person or a skill set or something like that. And then it returns these people results, which we've had for a long time. I mean, that's definitely been in the product since 2013 was released. But the way that it kind of looks and feels and these people cards that they've added in are pretty cool. So if I just type in SharePoint here, so it takes me to a result page, very similar to the search result page that we were seeing over on the site. So here I can see just sites and files that match that word, but then I also have people over here. And if I click on these people, so let's see, of course now I'm having like mouse control. There it goes. So if I hover over this person, we can see we have Laura here. I can see a full people card that has ability to email her, who her direct reports are, recent files, all of that stuff. And what was pretty neat was that they actually mentioned that in the communication sites, one of the new web parts that they're going to give us is going to be a people web part. And Laura, you might have more information about that. But it sounded like it will have this ability. So basically you can just load, instead of having this like full contact list, you can just load the person's name, and then when you hover over it, they get this nice little pop-up with...
Oh, you remember the old web part back in SharePoint, maybe 2003, 2007, that was like a contact details web part. Do you remember that one? That sounds like that's the exact same concept.
I think,
wow, look, we
really
reinvented the contact details web part. Anybody out there, do you guys remember that one?
Yep, I think that's exactly what it is. But it's neat. I
But
mean,
it's
it's better than
prettier and
trying to make
shinier
a.
and
Yep,
responsive.
yep, exactly. And then you can click to see more. So it's kind of a neat feature there. And also we
Oh,
have
you can
the sort of,
change the result types to only people. Yeah.
yeah, so that as well. All right.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. All right. Back to me. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? It's very slick, isn't it? It's very nice looking. Another thing they said you're going to be able to do is, and I'll share my screen. I've got Teams pulled up. Let me see. There we go. I've got Teams pulled up. So in Teams, I've got just some little test things that I've been doing in here. But one of the things that they announced that you're going to be able to do is add SharePoint pages as a tab in here. So right now, if I click to add something in a tab in Teams, and we did a whole other power hour about Microsoft Teams. As soon as I click to add something from SharePoint, it actually gives me, it prompts me and gives me some examples of things that I might want to just pick from. But I can also just use a SharePoint link and just paste something in there. So I'm pretty sure it's always just going to be a library. So I would paste the URL to a site, and the only thing it's going to give me to pick from that site is a library. But what they're going to add later is the ability to just have a page. So that way you could have like your SharePoint homepage or any other page you create and have it show in here. So you're kind of tying everything together. It'll be really nice. Okay, so another thing that we were going to go over is some of the new web parts. I have done a whole other power hour about a bunch of new web parts, but what I want to show you is the new list view stuff. So here is let's see, let me go to make sure I'm on my little modern site that I created. Okay, so here's just my home page, and I've got a couple of web parts on it, but I have this project request list here, and I want to show that as a web part on the home page, which of course this is one of the things that we've been asking for ever since Modern Pages first came out, right? So I'll go ahead and I think I didn't add it yet. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I'll go ahead and edit this, and then now when I click the little plus to add a web part, and I'll have to add this to my blog post that I wrote about all the new web parts. Ooh, look, I've got document library here now, and I've got list, which is preview. So it's two different things. So you have to pick, first of all, if you're going to do a document library or a list. And then as soon as I pick document library, it actually gives me, here's the list of all your document libraries that you can pick from. And then I can click the little edit web part button, and I can change the title of it just like I have always been able to do, change the title of the web part. And I can even change on the fly which library it's showing here. But then the view part is a little bit different than it's been in the past. So in the past, you could pick a view from the list or library and then just edit it on the fly in the web part. But now with this one, which is fine, it's not that big of a deal to me, that you can just take it and create the view first over in the library and then pick from the view over here in this view drop down. So I'm not going to change that one. I'm going to go ahead and just add a list now. Are you guys excited about this? Lists and libraries. Yay. Awesome. I want to get like a whole bunch of thumbs up in there. Lists and libraries. Y'all use the little add reaction button and give me some yahoos in there or whatever. Okay, so for list, I give it a title. I pick which list. So I'll say project requests. And then pick my project request list, and then again, same settings. So what I can do is I'll go ahead and save my page, and then go over to project requests, and I will say I want to do just approved project requests. See that I've got different statuses in here. So I'll create a new view in here, and actually here's a quick way of creating a view. I'll just do a filter by approve. So it's just showing, oops, let's see. Oh, approved, yes, there. I must have been testing this one and put a bunch of different values in it. So approved, yes, and then I can just maybe narrow down, show and hide some columns. I love this new way of doing views. If it would just let me click on it. There we go. I think it's way too far over on the right. It's not letting me click. It's no fun. Oh well. Anyway, I'll go ahead and save this. Save view. I'll call it approved. And I can then go, I'm going to try creating a private view too, and I'm going to try and see what happens with that. So I'm going to create a private view. So I'm going to go ahead and go to, not going to edit the current view. I'll just go straight to the list settings. And I'm going to create a new view and call it My Requests. I'm going to see what happens if it lets me pick from personal views when I put it on the home page, because that would be interesting. Because then how's everyone going to see my personal view? I like testing it and pushing to the limit, like during the demo. Isn't that fun?
That's how we roll, man.
Yeah. So I'll sort it by the most recent ones, and then I'll say, and I think this is one where I took the created by field. Yeah, I just took created by and I renamed it and called it requester. So I'll just say requester is equal to me. And okay, filter value is not a valid text string. What? Oh, maybe it's just a text field. Okay, I'll just change that. There we go. Created by is equal to me. Requester must have just been text and not a people field. Okay, so now I've got my project request. So that's a personal view though. Now I'll go to the home page and go to project requests. I have to edit that web part and go scroll over. Oh, it's thinking about it. I like all you guys chiming in the chat window about, oh yeah, you're right. The layouts are going to be awesome. So the layouts are not in here yet. But the layouts are going to be exciting because we'll be able to just have columns, you know. So I'll put approved.
I mean, the single column thing has been like the one thing holding me back from using the modern pages with certain clients, like on their home pages and stuff.
Yeah. And that news sort of summary thing kind of shows columns because it shows like one on the left and three on the right. But that's like, it's just in the web part. You have no control over it. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. So Joelle, you go to this same site/modern/Laura, and see if you see my, my requests as your web part here, because remember it was a personal view. So sometimes in situations we'll want to show things a certain way in a web part, and have it so that it's got certain fields displayed, but maybe not want to have that as an existing view in the list or library. I've had lots of situations where that occurs. So this would be a good way to make it so that if you want to show certain things a certain way in a web part, but not have exist in the list, you could potentially just have it as a personal view and then put it on the home page like that. So
yeah. It looks like I'm seeing the same thing you are.
So, okay. Well, that's interesting because, but did you create any project requests though? Because if created by is equal to me, it's just showing mine, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's a little awkward, but yeah, you know me, I like to test it. I'm also not sure if, so we can do see all, which will actually take us to that list or library. And then we don't necessarily have really interactivity in the web part, but we can just go straight to the library with the see all and just go do what we want to do with it. And did have one more setting, just saying kind of the amount of items that you wanted to see there. We don't want to make it so that people are seeing 200, 300 things on a homepage anyway. So, yeah. So the new layout thing will be pretty exciting. So we have that web part that's already in there. I believe the list and library are the only ones that are new since last time we demoed this that have been added in there. I don't see anything else just magically appearing in there. But that's pretty exciting. And then we've got, let me flip back over to here. The whole SharePoint communication sites thing, that's going to be so awesome. It looks like it's going to be when you go to your SharePoint home and you click create, it's going to have that as one of the things that it's going to look like this, except it's going to have community site as one of the things you can create. So think about this concept of the concept that's always been around of publishing pages or intranet pages versus team sites. Publishing or intranet is communication. That's mostly for one-way communication. You have most people in the company reading something and everybody else reading the news or announcements or whatever it is. So that's the concept that for communication sites, and they're going to be able to roll up the news, and we're going to be able to kind of just have that as a nice, pretty, modern way of reading that one-way information. And we still have team sites. That's where you're going to do your collaboration. Things are changing all the time. Multiple people are editing things. You're all collaborating on documents, which is just a different concept than a communication site. So those are kind of two main types of sites. But another, to me, just I don't know about you, Joelle, but in my experience, you have three main types of things people do with SharePoint sites. You have one-way publishing, you have communication, like collaboration sites, but then you have custom business solutions, which is like a whole site just centered around the travel requests or something, or HR onboarding.
Yeah.
So multi-column pages, new web parts. They had a whole bunch of cool Yammer stuff that they were showing in there. So I don't know if I was sharing my screen when I showed this, but you could go to the SharePoint just homepage from the waffle menu, which to me, the SharePoint homepage could just be your intranet homepage. I think it's awesome, especially that it's not only showing you all the sites that you've been working on, but showing you the news rolled up from the sites that you go to. And it's this create site button that's gonna be, at least from what I could tell from the demos, that's what it looked like. It was gonna have a different interface here where you could select what you were gonna, what you wanted to create. But you guys, we also talked about all the apps in another Power Hour about how this SharePoint app actually looks like this as well. Okay, let's see. Some more stuff, workflows and forms. See, I was saving the good stuff for last.
Laura, what did you think about that NASCAR case study they showed with all the Power Apps? I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I was wondering, because we have Talladega, which is in between where I live and where you live.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was there, or like if they use that stuff here in Alabama at Talladega. I was kind of fascinated. Yeah, so that's pretty fancy.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the Power Apps, when it first came out, every time I try to use it for like a real world business situation, there were a lot of different field types it wasn't compatible with, but it's just gotten so much better just in the last couple of months. It's, did I tell you I went and crashed their office? I just showed up over there a couple weeks ago and I was like, hey, Power Apps guys, what you doing? Anyway, they're like, Laura, what are you doing here? And yeah, it was fun. We had some impromptu meetings. Anyway, I love those guys. They're really nice and they're working really hard. Okay, so we've got workflows and forms, and then we've got some new admin stuff that they talked about, but they didn't. Don't worry, I'll do some demos of some flows. But the new admin stuff they talked about isn't necessarily anything that's in the product that we can show you, but I was really excited about some of the things they showed, just some of the concepts of the way you'll be able to manage. I'm trying to find that little screenshot that I had the way you'll be able to manage like this whole big list of all of your sites. Here it is. Let me share my screen. Anyway, it's just a screenshot. It's not. There we go. So it's this is just a screenshot like what they showed yesterday in the demo, is how it's got your site management. This is going to be a new modern SharePoint admin experience. I am super excited about this. This is a list of all your sites and groups that are sites. And to be able to see just all this stuff and filter and sort it just like a SharePoint list is huge. So I can't wait for that to be in the product and be able to do more demos about that. Because, you know, that's my background, is the SharePoint admin side. So that's really fun to me. All right, so let's get into the flow stuff. Now, I did create a couple of videos about some of the new flow stuff for them for the virtual summit, that it's just none of the MVP content has been published yet. So, but if you go to the virtual summit link, just the one that I put in that blog post, just, you know, the one that you went to yesterday when you watched the virtual summit live, and I also sent it out in a newsletter email. Anyway, you go there, you could still log in and you can still watch everything that happened. And there are some links at the top for their resources, their additional videos. So not just all the videos that came out right when they, were streaming live yesterday, but there were a lot of other links in there. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that stuff. So I'm just going to click on the link because I know I have it in my blog post. I'm going to copy that and go over here. And I'm also going to paste that in the chat window. If anybody missed it, you can still go to that. Okay, and then I just need to sign in because I want to show you where all this stuff is. You still have to sign in to get to most of it, but a lot of it is actually on Microsoft Mechanics. It's on their YouTube channel. So a lot of the stuff they have in here, there's me right there. Woo. A lot of the stuff they have in there is just links basically to their videos on their YouTube channel. So like technical sessions, this is all the stuff they didn't show as part of the keynote, but here's the more detailed video on all the admin controls, and here are all more detailed videos about all the stuff we've been talking about. Resources, all the stuff that I did. Oh, thanks for the link to the Microsoft Mechanics stuff. Yep, that's exactly what I was just talking about. This is where I believe the stuff that I created is going to be. It's just not out here yet. It's some stuff about Microsoft Flow. So just kind of keep an eye out there for some videos that I did. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and demo that. So I will go to my little site that I have here. And we only have 20 minutes. So this is going to be an abbreviated demo, but the whole kind of what I didn't want to have this whole Power Hour be about Flow and I don't want to have an extended demo because I do want to do a whole other Power Hour about some of this new approval stuff. So next week, Joelle's going to do Power Hour about a bunch of managed metadata concepts. And I'll let you give a little more detail about that when we wrap up at the end. Don't let me forget. And then maybe the week after that, we'll let's see, what is that date? So next week's going to be the 21st. Yeah, then the week after that, I can do one on Flow. All right, so here is my project request list and a couple of new things that these have been in there for a couple of weeks. They were out there, whatever, three weeks ago maybe when I actually created the videos. But there are a few new concepts, two new concepts that I'll talk about today. One of them is the ability to select an item in a list or library and run a flow on it. And then the other was going to be this new approvals concept in Flow. All right, so first of all, the ability to select an item and run a flow on it. So first of all, you have to create the flow. So when you first arrive in your list or library and you click Flow, you're not going to see the thing that I'm talking about until you select an item. So you have to select just any item in the list or library first, and then click flow and create flow. And so what you'll see when you do that is this pane on the right, seeing it's all these flow templates for the selected item, for running something on the selected item. So for example, I can go in here and request manager approval, or add a card, post a message to DM, or whatever I want to do. Let's see, I'm going to go in. I don't want to do the request manager approval because then I have to go through the whole like logging in as different people thing. So I'm just going to do a custom one, which is going to give me that functionality for running it on the selected item, but then I can do whatever I want to with it. So here's my complete a custom action for the selected item. It's going to make sure that I'm authenticating to whatever it is, like to SharePoint. So I've already created this connection, so I'm just going to continue. And so now it's just basically this thing up here is got a whole bunch of built-in stuff that's going to generate the ability for it to know which link that I clicked on. So I'm going to go ahead. See, I'll see if it just lets me create it like that without doing anything else. All right, and then now, see, now that I've created it, I can see all this coolness that they put in here. I'm not going to go in there and dig and see what it does. It's just this big, crazy, long string of complication. But what it does is it gives me this item. It spits back and gives me like what item that I'm running something on. So it gets the item, and then it knows what list I'm in. And then the next thing is, what do I want to do with that item? So that's where I can go request approval for it. So I'm going to do something really simple and just do one action that will send an email, and then just show you how to run this this workflow. And then I'll show you how to make it so that we can do this new approval thing, and then we'll tie the two together. So I'll do a new step, and I'll just say add an action, email, and I'll do my Office 365 Outlook, send an email. And who do I want to send my email to? I can, let's see, I'll send it to myself let's see. There we go. Oh, I just saw it. So I can say testing, and then I can put the name of the thing that I like, the title of the item, and then I can say, please take a look. So I'm not going to do anything else except send an email about that particular item so that you can see information about it. So I'm going to do created by, and then put the created by display name. And then I'm probably going to want to put a link to that item in the email. Let's see if it gives me that. Item URL. There we go. I'm just going to put it raw in there like that. And go. Okay, I actually am going to log in to this environment as a different user. Joelle, I need to create you just an account in my Wonderlaura tenant so that you won't be in there as a visitor, so that you'll have like kind of, more functionality in there and not be an external user. Okay, so let's see, /. So what I'm doing right now is I'm logging in as Billy Bob and I'm logging in as a different person. So I'm done with this flow. So now I'm back on my list, and I'll just refresh this just for the fun of it. And now when I select an item and I select flow and go, there it goes. So that's what I named my flow. I didn't give it any name. I just gave it like the default name. So I named my flow this. So that's where I can go run the flow, and then it says starting it. So they demoed that yesterday. So the flow has run, and it will send me an email. and I'll go in here and just go to my little test email here, and we'll see that'll, here you go. So there's the title of the item. Please take a look at this. And I just put this raw, ugly URL in here. So that is just basic, just clicking an item and sending an email. Now let's see if I'm logged in as someone else. Is he going to see that flow? Because remember, that was one of the limitations, was that you couldn't see it if you were not the person who created the flow. So look at that. So I have nothing about flow if I'm Billy Bob. Now, I don't see flow at all. So that's also going to have to do with probably some permissions. So the first thing I want to do is think about the permissions that this person has on this list, because I think that he's not seeing the flow link, but because of his permission level, and that's going to make a difference too. So this is all going to be important stuff for you to consider when you want people to be able to use this flow drop down and create flows. So I'm going to go look at my list settings and my permissions, and let's see, what is Billy Bob? Billy Bob. He has read access, so he can't run a flow if he has read access. So I'm going to put him in this members group, which has edits. And don't need that. Okay, so I'm giving him edit permission, and then we'll go ahead and go back in as him. And I said I didn't want to go in logging in as a bunch of different people, and now that's what I'm doing. But okay, so now he can see flow. So now let's see, when he clicks it though, is he going to see that one that I created? No. I don't see, he's not going to see it there, because when I created my flow, I just created it for me. I didn't make it a team flow. So it's another step that I have to do to make it so that other people can run it. So I'll go in here and go to my flows. And when I see, so this is the one on top, this is the one I just created. And I have to go share it with other people.
It's tricky.
What?
I said that can be tricky if you weren't,
yeah, that's
kind
of a pain. So let's see. I wonder if it'll let me add you an external user. Oh yeah. Okay. And then there's no save button. I'm done. Okay, so now you and Billy Bob should both have the ability to, I'm going to go refresh this list. And go select an item, and come on, there we go. So now Billy Bob can run that, and it's still running as me though. So whatever it's doing, it's still running it's still got my credentials stored in there, and that's one of the things that it lets me know that when I'm over in the go over to my other window here. Over here, when I click on the people thing, it's describing all this to me. So it says this is the embedded connection. I'm not sure why I put two of those in here, but maybe because it's got two actions. But oh no, yeah, sorry, that's email and that's SharePoint. So it's doing both of these things as me, the Laura admin person. So the email is going to show up, and it's going to go to me, and it's still going to just say that it's from Laura Rogers. So there isn't a way to change the context necessarily of who the workflow's running as, because it's always just going to run as the person that created it and shared it in the first place. Okay, so that's the concept of creating a workflow, a flow that's just going to run on one item. Now let's go over to, go back to my project requests. And let's see, I'm actually going to go to my policies list to show you this one. So I'll go ahead and make this I'm going to do an approval flow, but I'm going to do it just alone by itself without necessarily doing the, selecting an item thing. So I'm isolating these two things so they don't get all mixed up and confused. I just want to show them as two separate features first. So I'll go back to my flows here over here, and just going to create a new one. Just create from blank. And my trigger is going to be when a new policy gets added to the company policies. So I'll just call this new policy. I'll call it new policy approval. because I don't need it to be manually triggered or have it or create it that other way if I just want it to run when there's something new, right? So my trigger is going to be SharePoint when a file is created. Keep in mind in here that when a file is created is a different action than when an item is created, so it's a list versus a library. Here I have to put my site address. Oops, there's my site. And then basically which library is it? Oh, Joelle, can you let me know if there are any questions in there? I haven't been looking.
Yeah, I've been trying to answer as they've come in.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Oh, see, policies used to be the shared documents library, and I just renamed it and call it policies. But over here, it just says shared documents. It doesn't have the thing that I renamed it to. So another thing to kind of keep in mind. I'm going to, so that's my trigger when a file's created. So when a file's created, what I want to happen, I'm going to do this new approval thing. So this is not the one that's the send an approval email thing that's connected to Office 365 Outlook. This is an actual approval. So I'll do this new one, the version 2, which is new and improved. Just going to skip over version 1. Maybe that's probably just, they're getting rid of it and they had to leave it in there just so that people who had started using it wouldn't be yanked out from under them. So, but I'm not sure what the difference is between the two. All right. Yeah, it doesn't say it in the description or anything. Okay, so what's the name of my approval? Approve policy, and then I'm going to put the file name. Who do I want to assign it to? I'm just going to type my name in here. Oops, yeah, sorry, admin. And then what are my details? That's going to be like descriptive text, please. And then my item link is file path. Item link description, I can make that be just my file name. That's what it's going to say when I click on the link. And that's it. So I'll just do that one. And then I have to add a new company policy to this library. So let me go grab just a fake file. And go to my policies and drag it in there. Okay, so there's my new file, and my flow should be running. See, we've only got 7 minutes left, and we just barely scratched the surface because there's a lot more we could do in here. That's weird how that icon looks. Let me just refresh it. That's one thing about Flow that you might be used to from SharePoint Designer workflows and other workflows is that Flow, you don't have any link like on the item or anything that that will show you the flow or anything, you know what I mean? This is just the old school SharePoint workflow. It's not going to have information about the flow itself in here.
Right.
Okay. So let's go back over to Flow, and it says my flow is running up here. So I want to go back and look at my flows, and I can see it here, and I can click on information. So this is where it's going to tell me if it's running. So let's go check my email now. Ooh, look at that. And that's my approval request. So it says approve policy science programs .doc. So it's got a link to the file. Look how cool. Okay, so when I click on the link, it takes me to this whole, look at this, in Flow, you guys, approvals. What do you think? What do you guys think of this? This is pretty huge. You guys like this? You think your end users will like it? There's a whole new approvals tab in Microsoft Flow. So when the user clicks on the link, it's actually taking them to flow.microsoft.com to this approvals thing, and it's popping out this little pane that shows them all the details about the request that I sent them. And then it's got the link to the file, which is not correct. So I'll have to what I put path in there, so I'm going to have to adjust what I had used for path. I'm going to have to go like tweak it because that is not going to work. So let me copy that to my clipboard. There we go. So that's something that it'd be nice if out of the box it had a link that people can just use that would function and not have to know how to construct a URL, right? Okay, so then they look at it and they go open the file and then they can approve or reject it. So when I click approve, it says you have chosen approve. Good stuff. Confirm. Nice. So then I also have other requests that have been sent to me. I have all my approvals on one screen from anywhere in this tenant, in this environment where people are creating approvals. So, and I look at this, I can even do a new approval flow from here. Just if I want to create, it's basically just going to be creating a new flow. But that approvals thing is really nice. So that's the other thing that I need to approve. I can even just email the person instead of approving or rejecting. If I just, maybe I have a question or something, it's just going to pop up my email to send that person a new email. Let me close that. No, I don't want that. Okay. So that's how approvals works. Then you have to think about what you're going to do with that value though, whether they approved it or not, because out of the box, this thing that I just approved, okay, so how do I know that I approved it? Like there's no, you know, so there's going to be more that you're going to want to build into there to actually, first of all, to make the URL correct. Second of all, to write something back to the item to say that it was approved, or send an email to the person who created it, who sent it for approval, letting them know that it's approved. And there's got to be some record besides the fact that it just disappears from your approvals little dashboard. Todd Flint says, is there still a task list behind the approval somewhere? Nope. It's just this approvals queue right here. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is tie the two of those things together. So we'll go back. We've got 3 minutes. and what I can do is I can say I want to create a flow, create a flow, get feedback. See, I'm not going to do get feedback or any of those built-in ones. I'm just going to do this one, the custom action, because none of these have that new approval thing in them. I'm going to do this. And that way, this will give me that functionality that gets that specific item that I selected. I don't like task lists, by the way, Todd, who was asking about tasks. I don't like task lists. They drive me crazy because it's just, to me, it's been in my 10 years or whatever experience of SharePoint dealing with task lists, it's just been more of a pain than anything else. And it doesn't give you that much in return. It just gives you pain and more work for the admin to delete all the tasks that no one got around to completing, but they actually did complete the thing, right? Don't get me started. Okay, so here I'll do the approval thing. I don't think it would be nice if we had a parameter that you could put in here. Yeah, it doesn't have like, it's not going to pop up a box asking the user for something in here. Maybe that'll come in the future, but so it's not going to have anything for to ask me something, but I'm going to go ahead and just hard code in what it is going to say and who it's going to go to. So approval for, and then get item. See, this get item thing gives me a lot more than just that file created thing did in the other workflow. So anyway, I'll just go get the file name, assign it to, I'm just going to send it to me again. Details, that's the body, blah, 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 item link. Now this one is going to give me, let's see, look, see, item URL. So when I do this custom flow where I'm selecting something in a list, I actually have item URL, so I think that's actually going to be more useful than what I had when I didn't select it manually. Item link description can be the file name, and I'm going to create it. Approve it, and go. There is workflow history, Todd. It's just in here. So when I go to my flows and I click information, of course I haven't run that one yet. When I click information, that's where a very, very detailed workflow history is going to be. See, it has every single thing that happened in here, all the information about the file, all the, pretty much everything you can imagine, everything that's available. So that's where you're going to see the workflow history, is in the flow logging in here. All right, so then if I go run that workflow, I'll go flow, and I might have to refresh. Oh, there we go, approve it. So now it started to approve it. Now it's going to send me an email, and it's going to take me to that little dashboard again. There we go. I've got a million tabs open here now, so let's see if I click on that link. So that link is actually useful. It takes me and opens the file in the web browser. And I can look at it, and then I can go back here and click approve. Cool. All right, and then you can add another action in your flow if you wanted to. That would add another step where you're going to have the ability to have values from the approval itself. So if I go like send an email or whatever I'm doing, I just want to show you this. See, I have these outputs. So I have who approved it, and I have any comments that they made, details, their response, whether it was approved or rejected. So I have all that I can use later on in the flow to do something else with it. There were also some updates to Power Apps. We'll just have to do some more Power Hours about Power Apps, because there's just a whole bunch of coolness. Some of it's already in Power Apps, but some of it's coming soon. Or Ari Eric says, can you run nested workflows? Start a workflow from a workflow? I don't think you can, but yeah, you're right, Ariel. If you use a flow button, you can pass parameters. So if you create it with your trigger being a flow button, yes, you can have parameters in it. But if your trigger is just selecting the item in the library like that, it's just going to run it. There is no pop-up for a parameter. So maybe that's coming. Yeah. So any other last questions about all this cool new stuff? Let me flip my scene back over here. There's Joelle. I know that there's kind of a couple of second delay, but well, while I'm waiting to see if you guys have any more questions, next week, what are you doing next week in Power Hour?
So next week, manage metadata. So we'll just do some basic stuff, and then also just talk about how it's currently, which hopefully this will change, but how it currently works with the modern views and modern lists and stuff like that, and what happens when you use manage metadata and that kind of thing. So we'll talk through some of those things next week.
Awesome. All right.
And also just basic term store fun.
Yeah. Oh, and are you going to SharePoint Saturday in Atlanta on the 17th?
I don't know if I will be there actually this year. It'll be like the first time I've missed it in many years, but I don't know. I'll see. I'm not speaking.
I'll be speaking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not speaking, but I might be there attending, so we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Ariel says, can you use flow buttons outside of the Flow app? Well, you can go pull up the Flow app on your phone, and you can take one of the Flow buttons and pin it to like your start screen on your phone, but it still inherently is using the Flow app. There is a run button that if you have one that's manually triggered, there's going to be like a little run button next to it right here. There we go, run now. So maybe that would be a URL, but that would be kind of kludgy. I don't think that there's a way to do that. So thanks for the questions. And Ariel, are you going to be there? Because I met him in person at SharePoint Saturday Atlanta the last year. All right, and then the week after that, maybe we'll do a flow one, and you guys go check out this SharePoint Virtual Summit if you haven't already. Go watch all those little extra videos. And to find out about upcoming power hours, I have on my wonderlaura.com, I have a resources link at the top, and it has power hour schedule, and that's where when I decide if I'm going to, what I'm going to do next, I write them in there. And I also have my Wonderlaura fan page that I post them on as events, and I tweet them, all that stuff. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.